Hi, this is Rick Shaver from Edison Price Lighting. I'm going to take you through an AIA course, The Art of Lighting, the Lighting of Art. This course illustrates and explains art lighting tools, techniques, and trends implemented by museums and galleries. The course reviews elementary lighting tools, layering techniques, architectural applications, and more subtle strategies for illumination. These practices and trends are illustrated with photographs of museum and gallery installations. At the end of the course, we should be able to identify the more common lighting tools, understand layering techniques. We'll recognize a number of architectural strategies, and we'll talk a little bit about daylighting strategies as well. Tools, techniques, architectural strategies, and daylighting. Let's start with tools. Here we see accent lights and wall washers. You'll see a lot of slides in this presentation with track lighting, but many of the techniques are just as easy to achieve with recess fixtures as well. So accent lights and wall washers are two basic tools that we'll talk about. Track lighting, here we see the Gagosian Gallery on the left and the Speed Museum in Louisville on the right. Track-mounted lighting fixtures really it's desirable and most common in museums and galleries for exhibits that change. But recessed lighting is important too, not just for permanent installations, but also where we want to create a quieter ceiling. We don't have any residential art lighting applications as part of this course, but that would be a very common place to find recessed art lighting fixtures. Now, to wall washing tools, the optics are basically the same with recessed or with track-mounted fixtures. There's a kicker reflector that directs the light up higher onto the wall, and then a spread lens which spreads the light both horizontally and vertically. And with wall washers, our goal is to achieve a uniform ceiling to floor illumination. Not always obvious as an art lighting technique, more of an architectural technique would be wall grazing. Here we see the entrance to the Museum of Modern Art in New York. There's a textured metal grill above the entrance, and that's highlighted beautifully by a wall grazing fixture, and also obviously identifies the opening of the museum. And here we have accent lighting tools, again recessed and track mounted. Slight variation on track mounted. We have fixtures that have cross baffles for increased shielding, and then open fixtures which would not often be used in the lighting of art, but certainly ideal for higher efficacies and following a strict energy budget. Narrow spot accent lights, again recessed, track mounted. On the right you see a ring baffle which eliminates stray light and keeps the center beam of the fixture focused on the work of art, in this case a vase on a pedestal you see to the right. Tools for tuning, light reduction screens, historically very, very important in museum, art lighting, where we do not want to dim the fixtures. We don't want to change the color of the illumination, but nowadays, obviously, if you dim LEDs, you have most often you have no change in color temperature. Beam smoothers, very valuable for, as it says, smoothing the beam. Spread lenses, I would really like to emphasize. There's just one pictured here, but there's a whole multitude of spread lenses that can change the shape and really tune the beam of light for a specific work of art. Color filters, not so often used in the lighting of art, and now, of course, we have RGB color tuning LEDs where we don't have to introduce a specific color filter to change the color of the lighting. What we have here, what you're seeing here, is actually an app. You see on the right a color space where literally with your finger you can to select the color range or the color, the saturated color that you want. And of course, this app could be changing white light color temperature and also dimming as well. And then with saturated colors, you can even change the balance within a saturated color. I'm not showing you the fixture here. I'm showing you the effect of a fixture that literally is motorized, 3 motors in this case. The 3-axis control gives us the ability to adjust move the fixture literally horizontally or vertically, as well as changing the beam spread. That is what you're seeing in the slides above, going from a very narrow beam to a much wider flood, and this is becoming prevalent in spaces that are very, very high, 25-foot spaces where you would normally use a lift to get up to adjust the lighting. Now it's possible to do with an app and a motorized fixture. Some techniques now. Wall washing. First up, the David Zwirner Gallery on the left, where the walls are all uniformly lighted. I mean, it's great to visually expand the space when the art is changed. There's no requirement to change the fixtures, the location of the fixtures. At the gallery on the right, we see just a slightly different use of wall washing. We see wall washers, but they are used to light either individual or groups of art. The downside can be wall washers when used alone. The downside could be it could be a little bit monotonous. The Ellsworth Kelly art in the Matthew Marks gallery in the top illustration. I mean, those are strong works of art. And yet I think that they would be enhanced if there were something other than wall washing used. In this case, literally the walls to either side, the art are illuminated to the same intensity as the art is. But sometimes wall washing is your only choice. Here we see literally a floor-to-ceiling work where very wide, and there's really no other way to light it. Wall washing is ideal in this particular case. And now to accent lighting. Accent lighting can literally make the art jump off of the wall. At the new Milwaukee Art Museum, the Calatrava building, you see some pieces there just with accent lighting alone. To the right at Crystal Bridges in Bentonville, Arkansas, the collection put together by the Walton family. Again, we see beautiful works of art accent with just the accent lighting, a little bit ambient of light coming from the ceiling in this particular gallery. Now here's another gallery at Crystal Bridges. I mean, to my mind, there's a little too much contrast here. That is to say, there is no ambient light coming from the ceiling, and I think that this is a situation that would have benefited from a little bit more ambient light or wall washing or what have you, but just accent lighting is used in this slide. Now, accent lighting can literally direct you through a space. This is a favorite museum of mine, the Kimball Art Museum in Fort Worth, and we see in the distance accent lighting used to highlight sculptures and painting on the end wall, and that literally helps direct you through the space, or creating a destination point, as we've written here. So a few more combination techniques. So here, what I wanted to illustrate, I think that this is very successful, where we have you can see the rectangular wall washers, both all around the perimeter of this gallery, and then and so the wall washers lay down a uniform lighting system, and yet then you see the accent lights, the cylindrical fixtures, coming back, if you will, to just add a little bit of emphasis to the works of art. I think it makes it a very successful installation. Here we have wall washing for the consistency. It is one complete exhibition at the New York Historical Society. So we have wall washers, lighting, putting down a layer of light, if you will, on the blue wall surfaces, and then accent lights coming back to highlight each group of art on the walls of the Historical Society. This is a slide to do with accent lighting. This is a fairly common range, all the way down to a 4-degree narrow spot up to a 60-degree wide flood. And is it a matter of a preference? Yes and no. I think that one could argue that accent lighting with a smaller beam might be more appropriate in this case. But I just wanted to point out that you do have a very wide variety of beam spreads to choose from with accent lighting. And with wall washing, you see on the right a variety of track-mounted wall wash fixtures. 1-to-1, that's a fairly common spacing ratio. That is to say, the distance from the on-center distance of each fixture to the wall. Keeping those dimensions equal is usually the way to get a uniform wall wash, but there are other tools out there. The fixture illustrated on the left, which we've actually seen in a few of the slides we've looked at so far, is a wall washer that has a much greater spacing than the 1-to-1 ratio, in this case 1 to 1.3. And some do's and don'ts. Wall washers alone, I said earlier that it can get a little boring, and on my slide on the left, it's really a missed opportunity, in my opinion. It's a sculptural exhibit, and I think that the sculptures really need to have some additional accent lighting to highlight them. On the right, we do see a combination of wall washers and accent lights in a space, a little happier gallery situation. Accent lights alone, I showed you a very similar slide earlier, where in this case, we have accent lights and a dark surface, a dark room. I mean, this is why my mother told me not to watch TV in a dark room, because it's very fatiguing for your eyes. It's dramatic, I agree, but it can be tiresome in a short while. Whereas the Morgan Library on the right, it's a beautiful combination of accent lighting. All the book stacks are wall washed, and we have accent lights on the sculpture and art lighting displays. I think it's a nice combination. Don't use wall washers alone. Honestly, I've been to the space on the left, and the walls are beautifully lighted. The Henry Moore sculpture, I don't know how they didn't know that they were going to have a sculpture in front of the wall, but in this case we were able to add accent lighting after the fact. Whereas in Dallas on the right, it's a nice combination of wall washers and accent lights throughout the exhibit. Don't aim fixtures too low or too far from the art. On the left, it's a little bit more difficult to correct when it's a recess fixture. In this case, fixtures that were just placed too far away from the wall surface. Can always lower the art in this case. On the right, track fixtures, again, it's just an easier situation to be able to locate track fixtures appropriately for the various works of art. Fixtures don't on the left, fixtures that are just aimed too high. I stated earlier that any distraction in the gallery, in my view, takes away from art lighting, and that's what you see on the left. Do aim fixtures the proper distance from the art, and try not to get splashes of light on the ceiling or anything distracting in the field of view. The illustration here is taken right from the IES handbook. This is nothing new. Locating a track or even recess fixtures is a function of the wall height, and then of course the sight line, and then we go back and we locate the proper location for the location of the lighting. Now some architectural strategies. I'm going to take you through three. The first one being the integration of the lighting system. In this case, it's the Met Breuer, formerly the Whitney Museum uptown in New York City, where the track was located between the concrete ceiling coffers. It's a beautiful way to conceal lighting system. Obviously, very particular to this gallery space. And here we have the Great Hunger Museum in Connecticut, and the track is interspersed by the wood slat ceiling, and so still see the lighting fixtures, of course, but the track is integrated and hidden in this type of an installation. Reinforcing architectural themes. Here we see in California the Anderson collection track is going in the slope, in the grade, in the slope of the ceiling, and I think it reinforces the sweeping grade of the ceiling. And at Tampa, another way of doing this. The track system is mounted in the in the coves, reinforcing the directionality of the system. And yeah, that is a Frank Stella piece on the left from the 70s, I believe. Here, just a very simple, narrow, long gallery, the recessed track following the long display walls reinforces the linearity of the gallery and sort of guides the visitors through the gallery. This is a favorite collection of mine at the Corning Museum of Glass. The track lighting system, pendant track in this case, was installed, I think, directly to mimic the strong architectural curtain wall in the galleries. And I think it's a beautiful example of the third element, that is to say the displays created, I should say, they're displayed in a way that reinforces also the architecture of the space. And I think this is a very nice combination of the three elements in this space. Here at the Baltimore Museum, the track, if you can see it, I think it's better illustrated on the left. The track is pendant mounted between exposed joists. The track itself has an LED uplighting system so that it's I use the slide to illustrate the architectural theme, that is to say the linear tracks moving between the joists, but it's also a nice combination of ambient lighting from the ceiling and then accent lighting on the works of art. Creating visual balance. What do we mean by that? In this case, another New York gallery, the tracks are installed below the beams, try to bring the space down to a more comfortable human scale. And something slightly different is going on here. Here we have a very loft-like gallery space, but again, that to my mind distracts or can distract from the viewing of the art. And so the lighting system here is suspended below, sort of to create a new datum or ceiling plane, if you will, to simplify the complications that are overhead. Another New York gallery here. We just have a very dominant skylight in the space, and the track, I think, very logically respects the skylight and without bringing undue attention to itself around the perimeter. Now for daylighting, we see here the Menil collection in Houston. We're going to look at, in this case, we're looking at louvers. These are concrete louvers that the track is not embedded in the louvers actually, but attached to the side. This is at least the first Renzo Piano museum that I became aware of in the U.S. In Houston. And it's a very airy space, having these louvers softly illuminate, bring the daylight into the space. That's a Morris Louis painting on the left. I think it's, as I said, a terrific little museum. Joslin. We have there perimeter light wells that bring that bounce the daylight down into the space, and I could have used the slide to illustrate the integration of lighting or the reinforcement of the theme of the architectural theme, where the parallel tracks are recessed into the curved ceiling. It's really very strong and effective museum. Back to the Kimball Museum of Art. That's not uplight. That's in these cycloid galleries. There's a linear skylight runs the length of the 100-foot length of the gallery, and the daylight is reflected onto the barrel vault, onto the ceiling vault. And so again, this gives us ambient light, as well as the tracks then give us the accent lighting on the works of art. Here in St. Louis, we have very deep concrete coffers, but the fixtures themselves are located on stems. They're positioned in a way that they stay just above the bottom edge of the coffers, and yet they're correctly positioned to clear the coffer and properly illuminate the display walls. Uplighting, I mean, I showed you the museum in Baltimore. This is the same sort of situation here at Edison Price in our little art gallery, where we use LED uplighting in the track to give us ambient light into the space, bouncing light off of the ceiling, and then use individual accent lights to bring, to further illuminate the works of art. And we see a few more museums here, and I think I've taken you to the end of the art of lighting and the lighting of art. Thank you.